Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Saturday evening, April 13, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that the entire Atlantic basin is still being dominated by ridges of high pressure that are responsible for sending all of those easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. You can also see that that cold front that was situated to the north of the main development region has now transformed into a trough, as we can see by this broken orange or reddish line right here, elongated from southwest to northeast, spilling into portions of the eastern Caribbean. And we can also see this blue spike line right here to the east of the United States, moving all the way down into portions of the southern Bahamas and Cuba, associated with a cold front. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see those low level patches of clouds pushing from east to west, all courtesy of that trough, bringing some amount of overcast skies and isolated showers to sections of the eastern Caribbean, especially the Leeward Islands. And we can also see clouds associated with another trough that we've been highlighting on our other pages, showing some amount of clouds bringing some rainfall, even some thunderstorm activity into sections of the Dominican Republic and even now Haiti. And it is this trough that's going to be affecting Jamaica, some amount of rainfall tomorrow, not to mention the fact that it's going to be interacting with this cold front that is across portion of the southern Bahamas and Cuba. So we'll be definitely getting in on some amount of rainfall across Jamaica on Sunday. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on what took place across Jamaica today. So we can see that it was a mostly sunny day, little to no cloud cover at all across the island. We can already see some of the clouds associated with the trough coming in from the east already, and it's definitely going to be plaguing sections of eastern Jamaica, especially with some amount of rainfall in the early morning hours of Sunday into the late morning hours and even during the afternoon across sections of some central and western parishes. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can say we have 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Sunday, temperatures didn't quite change across Montego Bay at all, still 26 degrees Celsius to show how warm the atmosphere is, but we can see 23 degrees Celsius in Kingston for that time. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we see Jamaica embedded in some grays and some slight yellow colors for the most part for 18Z on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Sunday. And we can see that that represents 0, that represents average temperatures, not to mention at least 1 that represents at least 1 degree Celsius above normal temperature. So it's definitely going to be cooler in a sense, especially with the rainfall that's expected. And we know the average temperatures for the month of April across Jamaica, 88 degrees Fahrenheit. When we take a look at the thermometer, 88 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 30 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 30 to 31 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Sunday. As it relates to the dry air map, we can still see that the dry air is plaguing the entire Atlantic basin, including Jamaica. You know, the dry air is represented by what we see on the key on the bottom, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, the whites in those reds. And we can see Jamaica embedded in some amount of yellows and the orange colors that represent some dry air. But we're indeed grateful that the 2 p.m. forecast for Sunday of the Saharan dust is not showing much of anything across the Caribbean, including Jamaica, as all the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be across sections of Northern South America, not to mention right there closer to Africa where we see that darker shade of brown that represent that vigorous plume that we don't want to see. That's that vigorous plume that causes the hazy skies and triggers some amount of asthmatic issues or sinusitis problems in some people. And we're glad that the Caribbean will be staying clear of that for tomorrow. On another note, we need to highlight the sea surface temperature anomaly map. This is what we're looking at when we're talking about what's to expect with the upcoming hurricane season. We know the Whites represent average sea surface temperatures. Anything with the yellows, oranges, and reds represent above normal sea surface temperatures. And we know the blues to purples represent below normal temperatures. And we can see that the entire Atlantic basin is very much above average, especially this area in the Caribbean's latitude. So all this moving eastward into the main development region, very above normal temperatures. We can see some oranges, some reds in there. That's very bad when it comes to what's to expect during the hurricane season. Imagine all of those tropical waves coming off of Africa, moving westward across the main development region, and then all of that evaporation of this very warm water building these clouds as they move to the west is definitely going to be something to see this hurricane season. And not to mention the fact that the El Nino that was affecting portion of the eastern Pacific, it is now transforming into a La Nina. We can see those blue colors right there off the west coast of South America, right there in a line from east to west, just a signal to show that the La Nina is definitely starting. And not only that, but the tropical cyclone heat potential, which basically shows how warm the water is at a great depth, is also concerning. We can see those yellows, those greens, especially across the Caribbean to the west of Jamaica, even across the eastern Caribbean as well. So all of these systems have a lot of warm waters to store up from the sea surface temperatures on the surface of the water, and even water at a great depth when all of that water is being churned up. So these storms have a lot of fuel to work with this hurricane season. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, both maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing anywhere from those lighter shades of blues to those darker shades of blues that we can see by the key on the bottom right that represent anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height to at least 1.5 meter wave height. And that's because the winds are going to be coming in from the most part, for the most part, from the east northeast, especially on the northern coast of the island, coming in more so from the northeast through the windward passage. And then we can see all of that air possibly piling up, especially during the afternoon, across sections of some southern parishes. So definitely some rainfall is in the forecast for northern Jamaica in the morning, eastern Jamaica as well. And we know when we're talking about northern Jamaica, we're talking about those parishes on top. So Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. Eastern Jamaica, you know, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey. So Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. So with the winds coming in more so from the northeast or the east northeast, you can't rule out some of that rainfall and that cloud cover coming in from the sea to affect sections of some northern parishes, sections of some eastern parishes as well. Then during the afternoon hours now, when all of that air piles up into sections of southern Jamaica, although those cumulus clouds become possibly rain clouds or even cumulonimbus clouds with those thunderstorms, you might see some of that affecting sections of some southern parishes. And we know there southern parishes we're talking about Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas. And with the upper level winds coming in from the northwest, it's definitely going to be favoring more of that rainfall and cloud cover across sections of some southern parishes in Jamaica, especially during the afternoon, if we indeed have some thunderstorm activity. And if we actually take a look at the 1 hour total forecast, we've been seeing the blues that represent rainfall even earlier than this time, as this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS is showing 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 9 a.m. Jamaica time. But we've been seeing the maps showing rainfall from as early as, let's see, 6 a.m. Jamaica time, with some amount of blues that represent rainfall across the northeast, so St. Thomas, Portland. But this is very concerning. We're starting to see some darker shades of blues and some greens in there. And with all of this rainfall all at once, maybe we might get an isolated, flash flood or two in some spots. Portland is used to it. Maybe a land slippage here or there. Either way, we're indeed grateful that we're going to be getting in on that rainfall, even although the area is dry and it might not be able to take all of that rainfall all at once. We can see that both maps are very much in consensus that there's going to be some amount of rainfall during that time, 9 a.m. for sections of St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, section of St. Thomas as well. Then look at the afternoon now. During the afternoon, keep in mind that this is 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time. We start to see more of those blues that represent rainfall starting to spread into sections of some southern and western parishes. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus with this. Look at those darker shades of blues across sections of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, even sections of St. Thomas getting in on the action as well. And the fact that both the Euro and the GFS maps are showing this increases the odds of it actually happening. And the accumulated precipitation forecast maps are showing that the rainfall totals should be the most across sections of the northeast. So definitely sections of Portland, sections of maybe St. Thomas getting in on the mix, St. Mary. The Euro showing up to 0.58 of an inch of rainfall across Portland. GFS showing up to 0.72 of an inch of rainfall across the same spot. And we do see the rainfall being highlighted for sections of some southern parishes. Euro is a bit more robust with that, showing up to 0.33 of an inch of rainfall across south central Jamaica. GFS not so robust, showing up to 0.14 of an inch. Either way, where there is some amount of consistency with where the rainfall is expected. So northeastern, especially eastern Jamaica, and some southern parishes. But the rainfall totals, we see the GFS a bit more robust across northeastern Jamaica than what the Euro is showing. But the Euro is more robust across sections of southern Jamaica than what the GFS is showing. Either way, we're indeed grateful. We're in the month of April. We're in the final month of our dry season. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get, although we usually receive 114.75 millimeters of rainfall during this month, according to the records that were taken from 1996 to 2015. So yes, we'll take all the rainfall that we can get to put some kind of a dent in the drought that some areas are currently going through. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we can see the clouds associated with that trough still bring some amount of rainfall to sections of the Leeward Islands, section of Haiti and the Dominican Republic getting in on that afternoon thunderstorm activity, section of the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Cuba, not to mention sections of Belize definitely got in on some amount of rainfall today. Guatemala, Honduras as usual, section of northern Nicaragua, Costa Rica as usual getting in on some amount of rainfall. Also, sections of Guyana, Suriname and French Guyana. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean right now, we're going to be looking at what took place today starting at around, let's say, 1:30 p.m. We can see that for the most part we had some amount of isolated shower activity taking place across sections of western or southwestern Puerto Rico, sections of Antigua and Barbuda as usual, Guadeloupe still getting in on the action from the trough, even spilling into sections of Dominica, Martinique as well. And if we take a look at the Barbados radar, some of that rainfall is definitely spilling into portions of the Windward Islands. So we can see all of that rainfall represented by the blues and greens, even some yellows in there that represent up to maybe some moderate to slightly heavy rainfall for sections of Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia getting in on the action, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Not much right now across Grenada or Tobago, but we do see some isolated showers or hit or miss showers right there surrounding the island of Tobago. If we take a look at the weather view of Doppler radar images, we can see that rainfall that we just mentioned across sections of the Dominican Republic, sections of Belize, not to mention that rainfall that we mentioned across sections of French Guyana, Suriname and Guyana. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18 on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Sunday. And we do see that for the most part the Caribbean should be getting in on some slightly above normal temperatures as represented by those yellows and slight oranges that represent up to 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. While the United States, sections of Central America and Northern South America should be getting in on some way above normal temperatures for the most part as represented by those reds. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Sunday, we do see that majority of the Caribbean should be in the clear, as all the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be across the waters of the main development region, as we can see right there. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, For the most part, we should be receiving anywhere from 0.5 meter wave heights to 1.5 meter wave heights across the Caribbean. The eastern part of these eastern Caribbean islands should definitely be getting in on anywhere from 2 to 3 meter wave heights, not to mention that area to the north of Panama and Colombia as usual, and that's because the winds are going to be strongest, averaging anywhere from 20 to 25 knots in those spots. Elsewhere, anywhere from 10 to 15 knots, and the wind direction for the most part coming in from the east. As relates to the rainfall forecast now, both of these maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected within the next 24 hours. And we do see the rainfall definitely being expected for sections of the southern Bahamas, eastern Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, sections of Jamaica, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, sections of eastern Puerto Rico more than anything else. Not to mention sections of the US and British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, and we can also see maybe some of that rainfall spilling into sections of Tobago, not so much Trinidad, but definitely Tobago, as well as sections of French Guiana and Suriname. We can also see some of that rainfall into portions of Colombia, Costa Rica and Panama as well. I know that when both maps from the Euro and the GFS are in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching.